With the wild trade period coming to a close, the 18 teams in the AFL have traded around stars of the game, endless draft picks, and some young talent across 9 days of action. Some teams have been left worse off than when they began, and some have added depth and excitement to their lists. With that being said, in today's video, I'm going to be going through each of the 18 teams and giving them a grading for this year's off-season trade period, and judge if this portion of their year was a success or not. I'm going to take the team's goals and aspirations into consideration when grading, whether that be premiership contention or a rebuild. Let me know what you guys think about my gradings in the comments below. Did I get it right or horribly wrong? Shout out Rails Macca, who has made a very similar video, but my gradings are my own opinion and not based on his video. Before we begin, only about 8% of you guys are actually subscribed. The number is going up steadily. Let's keep growing this community into something beautiful. You guys are the best. We reached 1,000 subs, so the Guernsey giveaway winner will be announced at the end of today's video, so stay tuned for that. Like the video if you enjoy, and without further ado, let's get into it. The first team to talk about is my Adelaide Crows, and they get a B. They had a good trade period, made the moves they needed to, and got their man Isaac Rankin. We might be overpaying him, and gave up pick 5 to the Suns, which might be seen as a bit pricey, but we did use pick 6 on Fisher Mackesy at one point, showing how a top pick doesn't always pay out. Shout out Fisher Mackesy. We also got rid of Billy Frampton, which is fair enough. He wasn't developing like I'd hoped, and wasn't getting a lot of games in the AFL side. With the addition of Rankin, the Crows forward line is looking nice, and he could really develop with the team over the foreseeable future and add an X factor to the attack. Adelaide also exchanged some late round picks, which doesn't really make a difference, but the trade of pick 5 means the first pick they have in this year's draft is at 23. Pretty late for a lower to mid-table team. A solid trade period, the Crows got Rankin, didn't lose too much except the pick, and a pick for a somewhat proven player within the league who's got a high ceiling is a fair trade in my opinion. The Brisbane Lions had a very good trade period. They picked up what they needed, and for that they get an A-. They got Josh Dunkley, who's going to be a solid midfield pairing with Lachie Neale. Dunkley's kind of underrated in my opinion. He can help to change games and provide great impact from the midfield. It also helps that the Lions didn't overpay him, which is always nice to see, some value for money. Jack Gunston was also added to the side. He's older now obviously, but still helps the depth of their forward line. Provides some veteran leadership and is still pretty solid. A great kick and someone who should be a nice fit. I like that move for the team. They gained and used some picks in their deals and gave up some future picks, showing they're in win now mode, which should be exciting to watch next year. Dan McStay leaving for Collingwood was their main loss in the period. He's a solid forward and more of an aerial threat than Gunston. He's also obviously younger, so it's a bit of a loss, but I think they'll be alright with Danaher and Hipwood for the future. The Lions also lost Tom Berry, but I'm not too worried about him leaving. He wasn't getting a lot of playing time this year anyway. The Blues get a C+. They didn't end up doing too much in the past week. They got Blake Acres, a solid piece to add. He's definitely older than I first thought, but averaged 21.7 disposals, 6 marks and about 3 tackles last year, and adds depth to the midfield or defence, wherever they put him. The move also kicks Carlton into a more win-now mode, seeing if they can make a finals push next season. They re-signed Harry Mackay until 2030, which is a great move. He's a Coleman medalist, they get to keep that goal-kicking ability, and he's proven he can kick goals at a seriously high rate and accuracy. The Blues lost Liam Jones and Will Setterfield, who are alright players, and they may have lost a bit of depth in their positions, but nothing too special in my opinion. Carlton didn't do too much in this period. They could have made a real push to try and propel them into finals conversations, but for now, they get a C+. Collingwood have produced a masterpiece this year, which as a Collingwood disliker pains me to see a little bit. They have some pretty big pickups such as Tom Mitchell, who they received in a last minute trade. He's a Brownlow medal winner who is guaranteed to get a lot of the ball and takes pressure off their other midfielders. Sidebottom, the Dacos brothers, Pendles and Mitchell is a mouth-watering lineup in the centre of the ground. They also added Dan McStay, who brings depth to the forward line as an aerial threat, and again takes pressure off players like Mason Cox, Darcy Cameron and Ash Johnson. Bobby Hill and Billy Frampton are some pieces that I don't think too highly of, but they could develop better in a different environment. But I don't really see them getting too much game time though, due to the strong outfit. The Pies also re-signed DeGoey, and their fans will be happy with that. I'm not too sure if he'll feel the potential the Pies believe him to have, but probably better than letting him go for very little. Ollie Henry was dealt to Geelong. He's a decent young talent, but it was well worth it to get Tom Mitchell in my opinion. A player who doesn't need to develop as much and immediately raises the ceiling of the team. They also lost Brody Grundy, which is a bit of a bummer considering he didn't really want to go. He's an All-Australian type player, but his contract is cleared now. And they do have 2 other capable ruckmen in Cox and Cameron. This is really the only thing that keeps them from an A+ grade. The Bombers picked up a couple of decent role players and didn't have to give up a lot for them. They get a B-. Will Setterfield will get more play than he did at the Blues and has potential to be solid and adds a bit of depth to their midfield. I really like the addition of Sam Wiedemann, someone who I think definitely has some talent, but just didn't get to fully blossom in the D stacked forward line. Think it could be a breakout season for him alongside Peter Wright. The Bombers lost Aaron Francis, but he wasn't really adding too much to their club last year, only playing 4 games, and will be better utilised in Sydney colours. Essendon didn't do too much, but I like the moves they did make, B-. Freo traded a lot, but also gained a lot, and replaced pretty much everything they lost, and improved on those positions as well. It's an A- from me. They got their man Luke Jackson, which creates a scary ruck duo with Sean Darcy, knowing he can be utilised up forward at times to fill the role that Rory Lobb had, but as a younger player with a higher ceiling. They paid what they had to pay to get him. It was always going to be a decent amount. Jaeger O'Meara and Josh Corbett are also solid pickups. Jaeger is a bit old and past his prime in my opinion, but Corbett will be solid as a key position player. They gained a few picks from all the trades they did, nothing too big, but they only lost pick 13 and managed to gain 8 picks in total. Lobb and Akers went out the door, and some would say they were pivotal parts of their success this year, but nothing that hasn't been or can't be filled by who they have traded for. They've also lost a bit of youth I guess with Tucker, Meek and Logue, but they weren't usually the best for the Dockers, so no harm truly done, just a few less players on the roster. Freo lost a lot, but gained more back. A very good trade period, A-. Having just won the premiership, you would have thought the Cats would take it easy in the trade period, but no, they went ham. They basically traded some second round picks along with Cooper Stevens for 3 young good players, and basically bullied Gold Coast into trading Jack Bowes along with pick 7 for basically nothing. One of, if not the, biggest steal of the trade period. Tanner Bruin could develop into a decent player and they got Ollie Henry for nearly nothing. Henry was showing flashes of brilliance at times in Collingwood colours, so in the Geelong system, which seems to elevate nearly every player that goes there, I wouldn't be surprised if he developed into a very solid player. It addressed the problem of Geelong being a bit of an older team, aka the retirement home, adding some future players to their roster. They lost some picks, but don't really need those really young players, winning premierships right now and all that. Finessed a few trades this period and didn't lose anything major. The Cats get an A+ from me. Perfection, no pun intended. One of the losers of this trade period, the Suns lost a decent amount of talent in certain players but didn't get much in return. They get a D+. They lost Isaac Rankin, which was going to happen, and managed to get pick 5, which is decent. But they ended up losing their other top 10 pick to Geelong, along with Jack Bowes, just to free up some salary. They got finessed here, and I don't know what they were thinking. They surely could have got more from another team's offer. The Suns also lost Josh Corbett, a solid young piece, and didn't get much back for him. But they did pick up Ben Long and Tom Berry, who will definitely be decent, if not quite good for the Suns. Both players are a bit unproven at this point, and their ceilings are unknown. Could pay off, or it could end up failing them. For their goals and aspirations as a team that is setting to rebuild, the trade period was pretty decent for the Giants. They grabbed the number 1 pick and a bunch of other picks along the way. They lost a few decent players, Jacob Hopper, Bobby Hill, Tanner Bruin, Tim Taranto. But if they're looking to the future, that could be the move. They lost Taranto for not much in return, which could hinder their midfield quite a bit. They've picked up Toby Bedford, and I'm neither here nor there on that move. If they fully commit to a rebuild, it will be interesting to see if other older players like Toby Green will want out of the club soon to pursue a more winning culture. For their plan, I think they've done well to stockpile picks and focus their gaze a bit more on rebuilding and setting a nice future for the club. The Hawks lost a decent amount of older talent, and it fits with their goals of investing in youth, but I think what they got in return just didn't match up with what they traded or lost. Kyle Amon was a pretty good pickup. Topped Port in Brownlow votes this year and is a clean and efficient user of the ball. They gained some younger players like Cooper Stevens and Lloyd Meek, which will be decent additions for the future of the club, which looks promising. In my opinion, it just doesn't outmatch what they lost in other moves they made or had to make. The Hawks lost a few veterans in Jack Gunston and Jaeger O'Meara. O'Meara is a bit past it, but Gunston still had a lot to offer through his goal kicking, taking the pressure off other younger forwards and giving them a more senior figure for guidance. They should have tried harder to keep Gunston in my opinion, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Hawthorn was looking towards the future, but just didn't get value out of most of the trades they made. C-. The D's lost a decent amount of talent this past week, but also picked up some nice pieces along with a big time player in Brodie Grundy. It's a B+ for them. Grundy and Gawn form the best ruck duo in the league currently, both of them all Australian type level players. Grundy alleviates some of the load off Gawn, allowing him to possibly roam back or forward for the need of the team. He also holds a hefty $1 million contract though, so hopefully it pays off for the D's. Shaki and Hunter were also picked up from the Doggies, which can be solid contributors to the outfit, although their playing time may go down in the process. They lost Luke Jackson, Sam Wiedemann, Jaden Hunt and Toby Bedford. Luke Jackson being the main loss, but they did end up getting pick 13 from the Dockers in a move which is pretty much definite. Jaden Hunt going west left a hole in their wing defender position, but it can be filled by Lockie Hunter. Maybe not to the ability of Hunt, but one that will do for now. They also gave up a lot of picks, but realistically, they don't have much use for the later round picks in relation to their team aspirations. North Melbourne had a rocky trade period due to one big move, that being them giving up the number 1 pick from last year, Jason Horne-Francis, due to him wanting out and behavioural issues. What could they really do? They're a struggling club at the moment. We don't know what really happened, but we can assume it wasn't truly North's fault, although they are in poor health as a team. But it's not often you see a number 1 pick just up and leave after only 1 year. Most assume Horne-Francis is to blame in totality, but I'm not going to make any big accusations. The move has left their midfield lacking a bit, but they made up for it by securing some youngish players, Griffin Logue and Darcy Tucker. They also turned pick 1 into pick 2 and 3. I like this move, but who said they don't get another 2 Horne-Francises, who leave at the end of the year? Just trolling, but yeah. Not too great from the Kangas, they get a stock standard C. On the other hand, picking up Horne-Francis was a risky move for Port, but secures some talent for the Power after a disappointing year. They didn't have to give up much for him, so the risk they're taking on him is more than worth it, despite possible issues with his attitude. I feel around his home and family he'll be more at ease and play better. After all, Port is a better environment than North at the moment. They also got Junior Rioli, who I don't think much of, but he could definitely turn his career around after some topsy-turvy years at West Coast. They lost Kyle Amon, who was their top Brownlow vote getter, but I think that gap in their lineup can be filled by other players, who just need to step up a little more. They also traded around some picks, losing pick 8, which they probably could have used well in my opinion. Port have done well like they have the past couple of years in the trade period, A-. A decent and quick running trade period from Richmond, they picked up 2 Giants players for a couple of first round picks. Tim Taranto has shown how well he can play as a part of the Orange team, and with the Tigers combining with players like Dion Prestia and Dusty, who will unlock his ceiling of what he can achieve as a player. Jacob Hopper is also a solid pickup, who can get the ball and dispose of it at a high rate and efficiency. They did trade away some decent picks, but with a comeback season of sorts this year, they want to capitalise on the primes their players they have now. We have all seen what Richmond are capable of, and these trades just help to boost their winning ability that little bit more, making them a dangerous team this year. Hold up, not that dangerous Channel 7. I'll give them an A- for upgrading their midfield to a high degree. St Kilda didn't do anything in this period except pick up Zane Cordy, who I will say is a nice pickup for them, but they need to do more. A team in the limbo between the mid-table and finals, I was looking for the Saints to make a bigger push to sign some other players, not get rid of their coach who they just recently extended. Hopefully this change can help them make finals next year, but who knows. The side is just unpredictable and a bit inconsistent at the moment. Not much else to comment on really, D-, the lowest grade in the video. The lack of movement just doesn't fit their finals aspirations and goals. Another team who didn't really make too many moves was Sydney, but on the other hand, with a grand final appearance this year, did they really have to? They re-signed Tom Papley on a 5-year deal, which I'm sure all fans are happy about, and keep their squad from this year together for one more run with Buddy. They added Aaron Francis, which adds some nice, say it with me, depth to their bigs as a versatile tool. Not too much to talk about, Sydney gets a C from me. West Coast had an alright trade period, earning them a C+ on my grading scale. I like the signing of Jaden Hunt, who provides some run to the side and has that winning experience, obviously from playing with the Ds. They also received some picks, 8 and 12, but ended up losing the number 2 pick, which they desperately needed, I thought, to start rebuilding some youth within their club. They also traded Junior Rioli, and I don't really blame them. There's an unknown to his full potential, and he did miss a lot of time in the past couple of years. An average trade period from the Eagles, C+. Hopefully they can bounce back a bit this year. The Doggies had a few solid pickups in Rory Lobb and Liam Jones, big men who are pretty good in their role, but lost a few solid pieces and of course their best and fairest winner, Josh Dunkley, which is a big blow. Lobb should be able to play in a similar fashion to the way he did with Freo and in that system this year, and Jones was turning into a solid big man in his time with the Blues. They also lost Cordy and Shaki. Cordy's been pretty good in his career so far, but I don't think too highly of Shaki if I'm being honest. He's had some moments, but hasn't been able to hold form. Losing Dunkley is going to hurt, especially for a team that just barely made it into finals. And I don't know if these additions are going to help them get back into that position again this year. A flat C grade for the Doggies. Before we head into the outro, let's spin the wheel and see who has won the Guernsey giveaway competition. I have a list here of all the people who have entered the competition. Let's spin the wheel and see who wins. Congratulations, Barometer Buckets. But anyway, you've won the Guernsey giveaway competition. To claim your prize, please email me at makeitrainprod@outlook.com. If Barometer Buckets doesn't claim their prize in the next week, I'll respin it in the next video. Thanks so much for the support recently. Big things coming to this channel soon, like IRL videos, streams, and more uploads. I might stream sometime this week with Facecam, so come check it out if you want to see what I look like, I guess. Comment any video ideas down below, and I'll make sure to check them out. Make sure you like and subscribe for future sports field content. Have a good one, and cheers.